I often ask myself, why is it that some people, when they're walking on a path, find their way and they progress and they change and they grow, and some people seem to go around and around in circles? They seem to always be stuck in the same traps, stuck in the same problems, doing the same thing over and over again and getting nowhere. And the metaphor for the path of life, or the path of love, or the path of transformation is significant because it is an unfolding. It is something that evolves. There's a beginning, there's a middle, and even there's an ending. And of course, you see, ultimately, endings are always new beginnings. Endings are just another step in the path. It's an evolving thing. And often when I come out here and I do this walk that I'm on now, which I have done many times before, although this is the first time I've done it with a camera like this, I start to think about how my life wants to change, how I want to be, how I want to think, how I want to relate to others, how I want to realign myself with the habits that make me feel like I'm in touch with my authentic self, or my intimate self, we could say. And it's so interesting that coming out here in nature and being around the birds and the trees and hearing the water and seeing the sun shining, how far removed that is from the digital sphere. Like, I notice that trying to speak on this camera, trying to think, trying to explain something through this lens is so unnatural, so far. It's like the opposite of not being on the path. It's that thing of being stuck in a mind tangle. Now, I do want to talk about insanity and neuroses, because this is related to this. Insanity is really the people, or the process of not being on the path, of not understanding transformation and change or anything like that. It's really the circles of the mind going around and around and again. And what I'm trying to explain is that, hey, look, this is the treehouse. So what I'm trying to explain is that so often I come here on this walk, and this is the first time I've done it with the camera, because I usually leave my phone or camera, whatever, in the car. And I tried to record a video and the take didn't work. I couldn't explain myself, and I thought, well, I'll take a different take and I'll start again. But I'd realized that I'd walked a certain distance, and because I'd walked that certain distance trying to explain something, I'd missed the nature. And I thought I should have just tried to enjoy the moment. I should have just enjoyed it and not even done the recording. And see, now I've got the treehouse, which looks like it's fallen down quite a lot since last time I was here. Trying to get this to work. So, an example of insanity, an example of neuroses. When you have a thought process and you don't finish it with a neat bow, which of course I'm demonstrating nicely now. Holy shit, this is breaking. When you have a story that is incomplete, that is with plot holes, with characters that are not given their air. So let me tell the story, let me explain what's happening right now. When you come into nature and you let go of the digital sphere, your perceptions naturally start to complexify and become multidimensional. Because your eyes, when they look at a screen, they are seeing something that is condensed, something that is always smaller than your larger field of vision. And you can notice this, you can try this now by just looking at the screen as I talk, and then noticing how you can actually see in your periphery vision. Now this is the Doster method that we're getting into, which is working exactly with perception dynamics, and we can do a real technique, we can do an actual process of it. But what's important to notice is that this screen, whatever you watch this on, is always smaller than your full field of vision. It's always smaller, only a part of your larger perception. And the other thing is that you'll notice that your screen is also more condensed. There's more information in the screen than if we were to just take that same surface area and put it anywhere else on your vision, or supposedly you would think so. It's almost like cordial, right? It's a condensed something. So when you're looking at something on a screen, or even just thinking about something and listening to something on an audio, it's always a condensing, it's always a smaller part, it's always a narrowing of your perception. And that's where going into nature becomes important. That's where the process of actually coming out of that becomes important, because when you go into nature and you see the trees and you see the leaves, you start to notice that your perceptions are catching on to the depth of field. Yeah, the depth of one leaf being closer and another leaf being further away, and another leaf having a certain amount of light and another leaf having a certain amount of dark. And there's this depth, there's this multidimensionality, and your mind, as you'll notice, complexifies. Now the problem we face is that we've spent so much time on the digital sphere, so much time looking at screens, so much time out of touch with this nature, out of touch with this multidimensionality, that our minds are conditioned, that there's a reaction, that there's this process that needs to undergo before we taste that multidimensionality again. Now for me, I feel I am quite in touch with nature often enough that it comes back to me fairly quickly, although oftentimes not nearly quick enough. What we find when we're not in touch with it, and it is a bit of a process, is that there's a reaction. Yeah, the mind has to struggle, the mind has to go into something, and God help the younger generation, because now we're seeing the children that have grown up with the screens as part of their perception dynamics, their perception development, and it's been there for years. It's been there over a long period of time, and it's been there in their developmental years. It's been there in their years when their brains aren't fully formed, their cognitive functions aren't fully formed. So they're going to be facing some serious challenges. They're going to be facing some real problems. And the reason I created the Doster method, which is essentially sitting down and going through this process of deconditioning your mind from the digital sphere to the multidimensional sphere, is because we're going to need people to be in touch with their perception. It is actually the process of going into the tangles or whatever unfolds with this process, facing whatever deconditioning means for wherever that person is, whether that means a reaction for the mind, a reaction in the body, a reaction in emotion even, and all the rest of it. So I noticed that the multidimensionality of perception is an unfolding that is absolutely critical for each person to do this. It's absolutely critical for each person to be in touch with this. Now, there's nothing wrong with the digital sphere. It's okay to watch videos, it's okay to be involved in the digital sphere and to see how it works and to have part of that as your mind diet. You want to make it as healthy as possible, right? Like any food diet. But you also have to be in touch with nature. You have to be in touch with the multidimensionality of your deeper perception, your higher awareness, your sense of what it is like for you to look through your eyes, to see the world through your face. So tune in For the Doster method, we're going to be talking about this. It's going to be a regular series. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, and I'll be back very soon with more.